Breaking news out of Yellowknife.
The entire community of Hay River in the Northwest Territories,
Fort McMurray here in Alberta,
the town of Jasper and the national park Slave Lake,
Kelowna,
and Lytton in British Columbia
is this morning under
an evacuation order.
An evacuation order.
An evacuation order.
As a wildfire burns its way closer.
Flames 400 feet high.
The wildfire is within mere kilometers of city limits.
It's a situation changing by the hour.
It has changed so quickly, unbelievably quickly.
With at least 230 fires.
230 wildfires are burning across the Northwest Territories.
The people need to get out of Yellowknife.
This isn't a we gotta go panicky evacuation. It's calm, orderly, and accounts for everyone.
It's time to go. It's time to get in your car.
I want to stress that the road is safe to drive.
Conditions will be smoky, and residents should drive with caution and care.
Please ensure you have enough fuel before leaving.
It is a huge undertaking, requiring a great deal of coordination of local, territorial, and national resources.
I felt like I was abandoning the people that were working the hardest for us.
Thousands of people are being sheltered in Edmonton and Calgary.
This is your third evacuation, first for floods back in May 2022.
And then there's flooding, a lot of it.
The flooded yards,
constant water main breaks,
ice buildup in places where there shouldn't be ice,
repeatedly flooding the area and their properties.
Their futures have grown even more uncertain.
Now everything is gone.
It's just heartbreaking.
It feel real. We had like an hour to get out.
It's really painful to see all of this happening.
I don't know what to do.
One thing I did notice was the level of positivity amid all this stress.
If there are homes for some, there is community for all.
With gratitude, it's my privilege to introduce our panelists today, starting with Mayor Spencer Coyne. He's the mayor of Princeton, British Columbia. Dale couldn't be with us today, and it's Jordan Bassett, who is calling in today from Hay River, and of course, Mayor Richard Ireland, who's calling in from Jasper. So thank you to all of you today. Can we pass the torch over to you and tell us your story from the Hay River perspective?
So we're going to talk about two disasters, kind of our story as a community. So a little bit of background. Hay River emerged from the challenges of COVID-19 in May of 2022 and was met with devastating flooding. So over 400 homes were flooded and it caused a town evacuation. Then the following year in May, we were once again threatened, and Kt. First Nations did lose a significant amount of their infrastructure as well during that. Despite all of these challenges, Hay River did step up and hosted our neighboring community long-term care residents in Fort Smith in July of 2023. However, again, in August of 2023, we were faced yet again with another wildfire, and we were actually evacuated for over a 6-week time period. These back-to-back emergencies, however, have tested the resilience and adaptability of the community and its services. We did suffer flooding within one of our new healthcare facility buildings. So this is our building downtown. We had opened it up in April, and in a month later, it was flooded with 4 feet of water. The entire river was on the bottom of the floor and that kind of thing. Again, roads were cleared out. The picture on the right is my house. That is ice in the front of my house. I do have an acre property, and my entire property was 1 feet underwater. So something that's totally unheard of and seen before. This is again my backyard. We were met with devastating fires on the Kt. Reserve. We had the fire in May, and then we did host in July. From a healthcare standpoint, really trying to figure out how we can help support our neighboring communities. So we did end up stopping some services, rehab and everything else like that, to help support the long-term care residents of Fort Smith. I believe we brought over 24 residents and really created the health center as a long-term care facility, trying to find some sense of belonging. Our cafeteria turned into meals 3 times a day. Our spiritual room turned into games and bingo and all the stuff to keep the calm as much as we can. Everybody really helped out. Some of the challenges that we went through from a healthcare perspective was whether we close the healthcare facility. How do we close the healthcare facility? How do you close some of the buildings? That type of stuff. In our first evacuation, residents not being prepared with the important items that they needed. They didn't have a go bag, so we were throwing things in garbage bags. They didn't have their medication, their chart details. That was a big eye opener in the flood, which we had learned for, and then started preparing, which really helped us in the fires. And then, of course, the weights of their wheelchairs for flight expectations, knowing that certain people are bedbound or certain people can only have their mechanical wheelchair, and the airlines needing to know all of that information. The working role with external stakeholders, working with municipality, working with healthcare, working with regional governments. So just understanding all of those roles, the consistent messaging, getting that messaging out to staff was proving to be really difficult. You can't get onto your email. In Hay River, we had telecommunication issues where the fire had actually burned the fiber line. So there was no access to any communication, and it was just silence. The appointments and the faxes and the prescriptions, people needing to still have that care, but not being able to access information that was on the ground, faxes coming through, having people stay around to move things along. Water treatment systems for our dialysis machines, those need to have daily checks. One of our biggest challenges as well was that multi-evacuation. So we did host long-term care from Fort Smith, but then we became threatened. So now we have an extra layer where we have more residents that we need to push through. But we did have a lot of successes. So as much as it was stressful and there is only one road out, there was no casualties in any of our evacuations. Standing desks, I know that that sounds really small, but it was new to us. In one of our facilities, all of the desks were the electronic standing desks. We had actually implemented the week preparation of, okay, every night, staff members, you have to put the stuff on the desk and you have to raise the desk. It saved a lot of paperwork. Just something that simple was really powerful. Lived experiences for the residents. Some of them had never been on a plane. So to hear them come back, yes, they were scared and they were frightened, but there was also a lot of positives because they actually got to see some family members that they haven't seen because they got evacuated. And the other thing is just getting those line lists for the residents, getting that information about the vulnerable population. What are their names? Where do they live? Do they need help? Really starting to collaborate and look through that, which is really, really helpful. Last but not least, to find the humor and keep the positivity during stressful evacuations and times.
Jordan, thank you. Hard-won lessons for sure. For now, if I might call on Mayor Ireland, please.
Thank you very much, David. We can begin. Most of you already know Jasper as a relatively small mountain town, a tourism destination community. We thought prior to the fire, we had a population of about 5,000. That's in doubt, and what we have now is in even more doubt as we continually try to bring parts of our population back. Due in part to our relative isolation, our nearest neighbor is Hinton, 85 kilometers away, and due in part, I think, to our dependence on one major industry, which is tourism. We are perhaps an even more tight-knit, self-reliant, interdependent community than might be the case in some other small towns. I just gave you a description of what Jasper was like as of July 22nd last year. That was the day that multiple wildfires ignited on the landscape in and around Jasper. Within less than 48 hours, those south fires combined into one absolutely enormous, ferocious blaze. It was spewing wind-carried burning embers and debris hundreds, if not thousands of meters in front of its advance. They rained down on the town about 6 p.m. on the Wednesday night, July 24th, and eventually ignited and destroyed 358 structures in town. That was about 30% of all of the structures in our town. We are approaching the 1-year anniversary, and we know that it will reintroduce a whole lot of trauma. We're aware of that. We are taking the steps that we can to help our community through this. I think we've learned now better to detect some of the signs. We've certainly encouraged everybody who is in need to seek help. We've invested in resilience. The Pathfinders program that you see highlighted there, that is a program that has 5 different modules, and community members can sign up and take that course. It's fairly intense. It requires a degree of commitment, but at the end of that, the intent is that those who have gone through the training are then better able to support other community members through the remaining grief and the process that we all have to go through. That has been something that has been supported by the Red Cross, by the Jasper Community Team Society, and, for example, our local Rotary Club, who understand together the importance of the mental health aspect and the well-being of community if we are going to recover and thrive again.
Thank you very much, Mayor Ireland. I now ask Mayor Coyne, if you wouldn't mind sharing us some of your experiences from Princeton. That would be lovely.
So I'm going to start off by saying, if this was a year ago, I wouldn't be able to do this. Last year, I was at a conference in Richmond, and the fire chief from West Kelowna was up, and he was talking about his experience in the West Kelowna fire. And he was telling of an experience where he went home one night and he was having a shower, and how it just all hit him that his community was burning down and there was nothing he could do about it. That really struck a chord with me because I had a very similar experience. Our experience in Princeton was multifaceted. There was 5 or 6 different major events happening at the same time while we flooded. We had blackouts and we had no water. And I went home and I was having a shower, and I felt guilt because of having a shower, because my residents couldn't have a shower and didn't have the ability to have that very simple luxury. When he was talking about that, I literally had to leave the building. All this post-traumatic stress came back, and I'll explain a little bit why. So in 2017, we had the Knutson fire just outside of town. The next spring, our neighboring community of Tulameen flooded, and the amount of water that we assumed was coming was going to force a full-scale evacuation of the town of Princeton. It just didn't stop. 2017, we had the fire. 2018, we had floods and fires. 2019, we were under a drought that hasn't really stopped. We had fires just outside of town again. In 2020, we were hit with the pandemic, fire, and drought. And that takes us into 2021. 2021 was an interesting year. So we're in the middle of the pandemic. We're in a drought. The heat dome's happening in British Columbia. And then we get hit with a flood that fall. And you can see in the pictures here that that day, the river was pretty low. And at midnight, it was starting to come over on top of the diking. And shortly after this picture was taken, it broke. This is some of the aftermath the next morning as we came back to work. You can just see everything was just destroyed. That's an apartment complex there, BC Housing, 55 and up. That's gone now. There was 2 of those buildings destroyed. We lost 5 apartment buildings in total. So the number, even though there was 300 properties, the actual number was a lot higher because it was apartments and whatnot. One of the things I learned from years of dealing with this stuff is that you have to get people back in their homes as fast as you can. We don't have a responsibility to clean people's homes out, but we have a responsibility to clean the streets up. What we did is we used emergency management money to clean the streets. And we told everybody in the community to just go and clean everything you can out as fast as you can, because it's November. And we know any day now we're going to freeze. And if all that stuff freezes in your house, you're not going to get back into your home. That was day 3. We had people in checking on people's homes so we could tag them and get them back up and running. But the community by now is starting to get pretty worn down, as you can imagine. We're running out of food. There's no heat. There's no water. We were seriously considering having to evacuate the community. And I'm down talking to a group of volunteers. Every day there's less and less volunteers. And then these guys showed up. The recce team from the Canadian Forces showed up, and you could feel the entire weight of the community come off their shoulders, because there was someone coming to help us. And it was the first time we felt hope. Sorry. One of the news agencies came to talk to us, and they're like, "What do you need?" I said, "We need help. We just need people to help." And people came and helped. People came from all over the region to help. People came with their work gloves. People came with their dump trucks. People came with their machines just to do whatever they could do. And people are coming out and they're hugging me and whatever, and they're thanking me for everything we're doing. And And they said, that's why we're here. We're here because you asked. And they rebuilt 37 homes for free. These are people that had no money. I'm sorry. I thought I could do this. You can't underestimate people if you give them the opportunity to support themselves and work together. Thank you.